Good afternoon, everyone. Come on, we can do better. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so it's indeed a great honor for me to be moderating this very panel session. And I will introduce my speakers right away and give an overview of what this particular panel session will be about. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me make welcome Anthony Sule, Director, Security and Innovation Resilient Technology, is going to be on this panel. Anthony Sule, a round of applause as he makes his way up the stage. Anthony Sule is the Director, Security and Innovation Resilient Technology. I have joining me also the delectable Zulaiha Dubai Abdullah. She's the founder, developer. Please help me appreciate Zulaiha as she makes her way to the stage. Thank you very much. She's the founder, developer. Also to join me, I have Henry Ibrahim. Mr. Henry Ibrahim is the head operations, the Big Family 360. Please, a round of applause, please. If your hands are not busy, a round of applause. Thank you very much. And also help me welcome the last but not the least, Zainab Saidu Idris joins us on the panel. Please help me appreciate Zainab. Sub-Saharan African mentor, Google Women Tech Maker. A round of applause for Zainab. Please don't stop clapping until we all settle in here. Thank you very much. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on this session. So the last panel session, one key word that was strong, I want to leave it there, is a conversation around trust. Okay, I like the gender balance happening on this. A round of applause for my people, please. Great initiative, I love it. All right, so trust was one big conversation in the last panel session, and I like the fact that it was very big because trust is one thing that has led to the conversation that we are going to be having here. So we're looking at technology and youth activism in West Africa. In the past years, we've seen a lot of uprising, young people coming out to say, no, we won't take it anymore. You saw the NSAS movement. It was young people in Nigeria telling the government, telling the people, we can no longer continue like this. We saw it happen in Ghana as well. The hashtag fix the country. That was one very key thing to look at. So if you look at the landscape over the years, the past 4 years now or more, young people have come out to say, you know what, no. And that came off because of the issue of trust. So my panelists, they're going to be exploring how youth in West Africa leverage technology to drive social and political change. They're going to infuse their experiences in the conversation. So I will start with Mr. Anthony Sule. Right? I'll start with you. We're going to be looking at technical security solutions, protecting activists from cyber attacks, breaches, surveillance, and all of that. We saw what happened, especially with the NSAS. There was a lot of backlash with the use of technology and all that. So just give us an overview, right? Well, how do you view security role in digital youth activism? Now, when we're talking about activism, the context is social movement. We're not talking about the let's break things, let's no. We're talking about, we're looking at it from the context of social movement. So just give us an overview of what security role, what role does security play in digital youth activism?
Thank you very much. So security is very crucial, to put it simply, right? If you're going to be an activist, or you're an activist and you're going to do your work effectively, you need to know that you're protected. You need to know that as you do your work, you have families, you have people who care for you, and you don't want to do your job in a way that puts them at risk and puts yourself at risk. And I think a simple way to look at it is to look at, if you look at West Africa in general, and every indices on what a free society should be. West Africa is certainly not a free society, right? We're not a free region. If you look at Freedom House indices on whether civil liberty or internet freedom and the rest of it, West Africa is largely not a free society, and Nigeria too. And so what that tells you is that whatever activism you're doing, you're coming up against people who can go to any extent to make sure that you do not put your work in jeopardy. Right? Many of our politicians, they haven't come from a place where they put their hands into labor and enterprise, and so politics is the way that they make money. Politics is all that they know, and that's why you find some people who should have no business in politics, live in politics. And if you come up against them trying to get food out of your mouth, let's believe they'll come against you with everything that they have. And so, if you're going to do this, you have to be protected. And so, for me personally, and it's not just because I'm a cybersecurity professional, but there really can't be proper activism in a region that is not free as West Africa is without cybersecurity, unless you're not doing real activism. Because if you're doing proper activism and you're coming up against the government and trying to demand for a free society, best believe they will use every state apparatus to come against you. And that's why security plays a crucial role, whether it's personal or whether it's security is just crucial, and you can't do without it.
Thank you very much. So from your observation of the uprising that we've seen, for instance, again, the NSAS movement, the Fix the Country movement that we've seen in Ghana and in Nigeria, how well would you say the preparedness of including technology, how can you rate the success rate of those movements and the part that technology in it? Would you give it a thumbs up, or we're still coming up, we're far behind? What are your thoughts around that?
Technology very key, especially in Nigeria. When we look at the NSAS protest, I think the one that everybody can very easily remember was when the protest started initially, and there were donations here and there, bank accounts going on, and the government, I can't say so much because for obvious reasons, and the government started to close accounts and sanction people and the rest of it. Very quickly we saw blockchain accounts or that people started donating cryptocurrency and the rest of it. It was almost as if, and I'm very proud of what happened there. Of course, not to the very end, but technology played a pivotal role in the sense that for every traditional system, whether it's banking or communication, that the government closed down or tried to prevent people from using, there was a technological enabled decentralized technology that people decided to use, whether it's blockchain or whether it's using VPNs when we could no longer access our platform. So that, for me, I think it was not successful. And I like that the panel before this that talk about AI and the rest of it, but we're going to see a lot more disruptive technology. And I really hope that activists really embrace these things for the future, because the future is really going to be more about technology that are decentralized. And we're going to see less government-controlled tech and initiatives like that. And so I really hope that really embrace that.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for that beautiful feedback. So I'll come to you, Mr. Henry Ibrahim, Head Operations, the Big Family 360. Now, you have been able to highlight some of the challenges while you're giving an overview of what you think, what role technology played in this moment, but you have slipped a little bit into my next question, which is some of the challenges now that exist in engaging diverse youth online, using technology as a means to drive social activism. So what are those challenges that you see that pose in this regard?
Yeah, for me, I think one of the major challenges that we face in trying to mobilize the youth for social change online is the issue of accessibility. Particularly, we are in West Africa, in Nigeria, to be precise. We have a lot of communities that have less internet connectivity. Some communities are totally not connected to the internet. And for you to actually drive, because the problem and the mistake people make is that the voting block of developing nations, and particularly Nigeria, is in the rural areas. Most of the people that are in the urban centers are actually people who make noise on the social media without actually, going to the booths on the days of elections to cast their votes. They know how best to comment or to run commentaries on the socio-economics or political situation of the country online. But on the day of elections, many of the people that turn find themselves to be informed or literate, will sit at the comfort of their homes without necessarily going to the poll. But I am coming from a rural community, and this is where elections actually happen. Where you have people are being swayed with money to vote as against an ideology or maybe the manifesto or ideas of a political party or the ideas of the particular politician who is actually canvassing for votes, as the case may be. So accessibility and the ability of the people, particularly at the grassroots, that is the rural areas now, to actually connect and to also understand. I'm talking about the issue of literacy now. Now, how many people do we have at the rural areas that will actually understand the movement? Let's take, for example, the NSAS movement. I'm coming from the northern part of the country, and we all know how it was received, in some parts of the country, and particularly the north and even the northeast, as the case may be. The recent one is the End Back government's, protest. Now, you could see some sort of, it's their thing, it's the southern people thing and what have you. Because of the level of, illiteracy, let me use that word, and the inability of some of these people at the rural areas to connect and to also follow the conversation at the or on the internet, it will make it very difficult when we want to translate this, social change that has gathered momentum on the internet, to translate it into a concrete and empirical change on the field. It will be very, very difficult because the people at that level are voting not based on the conversations that are actually happening on the social media or on the internet space, as the case may be. So I think this is one of the challenges. And another thing is the challenge that is caused by the ruling class. I think yesterday somebody was talking about, one of our executive director for Space for Change, she was talking about social conditioning. And I think one of the things that is like a tool in the hands of politicians in Nigeria and sub-Saharan African countries is this issue of illiteracy. They have succeeded in making our people not to be informed through education, so that during elections they will come and throw out whatever garbage at us, and then we believe all the narrative because of the propaganda that has been that will be bombarded on us using the mainstream media, and particularly the radio, the television, and what have you. But as the case is now, we see there is a shift. But somebody was also saying yesterday, even if there's going to be a shift, they usually gag the media, even if it is a social media. Some time ago, the former president had a tweet, and then I think Twitter, now X, deleted his account, and we remember there was a ban on Twitter in Nigeria because it did not favor the president and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, the politicians will continue to impoverish some communities, so that those communities will not be informed, so that during elections they will only come with this primordial concept of politics in Nigeria or in African countries to throw whatever they want to throw at them, and then they get them elected back into power, as the case may be. So these are some of the challenges that I think that are there when we want to mobilize people for social change, particularly using the internet as a medium.
Okay, thank you very much. A round of applause, please. A round of applause, please. I'm very sure that a good number of us are aware of these very challenges, but still stay with me. So these challenges have been identified. How then do we work our way around it, especially at the grassroots level? Because it's easy to run a campaign online, and get people to get on the conversation. But we're talking about people at the grassroots level, at the core interior of our states. How do we bridge this gap?
I will refer to one of the statements made by, I think, the executive director or thereabout from Rise Networks yesterday, when she was referring to the fact that for us to have a change, and particularly a holistic change in Nigeria, there's going to be a total overhaul of our mentality, and it has to do from the grassroots. We can't change Nigeria from the top. I'm sorry to say that. That's my own perception, actually. Not just Nigeria, but most African countries, because these politicians have actually succeeded in making themselves to be like some demagogues there. So whatever, they have the means of state at their disposal. So what we need to do is to engage in a very massive and very intentional reorientation, and starting from our works, from nursery, primary school, people that are coming up, so that we can have a new breed of generation that is devoid of these traces of corruption. And we're talking about corruption, not the usual corruption that we see in public places in Nigeria. So when we say something is corrupted, for example, you say your memory card has corrupted, that means it's malfunctioning. So we need to have citizens that do not malfunction. And another thing is that we fail to understand that the responsibility of trying to of getting a new nation or a better nation lies not just in the hands of the leaders. It is our collective responsibility. I bet you there have been many narratives out there that the people that are outside of government waiting to enter power to steal are more than those in power. And I think if we don't change that mentality, because an average Nigerian wants to get the opportunity to go there so that he can also show. So we need to have that. That's the best thing to go about it. We have a change in our value system in Nigeria today. When you don't have money, you are not tagged as anybody in the society. In Nigeria today, a lot of things that borders on values and morality and even religion, maybe theological now. We need to look at it very holistically so that we can have a change of mind from the grassroots upward, because we produce our leaders. Our leaders are not, thrown from space. They come from among us. And so they must have actually imbibed such, and sometimes some of these pressures are mounted on our politicians and our leaders by us, the citizens. If an ordinary governor, or maybe let me just use the word ordinary, if a governor is your neighbor and he comes back home with just maybe a 1 or 2 convoy of a car, and you say, what kind of stupid governor is this? You would be the one to abuse the governor. You would be the one to abuse the House of Assembly or rest member in your community, because he's not living according to your own perception of who a politician at his own level should live. So if we bring down our expectations on our politicians, I can remember there was a time Senator Aliyu Ndume said it. He said that the money they steal, they don't eat it alone. They share it with their constituents. It is there on the public domain. So we get the point. So it is us, the people down here too. We need to change our orientation and our perception about leadership. And again, when it comes to the issue of elections, people don't elect. Just recently in Edo State we had elections and people voted because they were giving 10,000 naira, 5,000 naira, for goodness sake. And tell me, these persons, I usually tell people, these guys are more like investors. They invest their money and you don't expect them to win and go to power and they will not return the money. And if they return the money or recoup the money, they know that you don't vote based on ideology or because of the manifesto that he's throwing out at you. They know that you vote because of what they offer you. So he will gather more so that during the next electionary season, he will throw it back at you to vote for you. Don't need to vote for him because of what they have been voting for you. So I think this thing, is somehow, interconnected. But at the same time, I think we are more than those in power. So if we decide to change as a people, there is no way that our leaders will not change. And in fact, I'm telling you, the country will be so hot for them that they have to go in exile, or maybe they have to force themselves to change by force.
Please, a round of applause. Did you catch that? Thank you very much. So I want you to look at the person seated next to you and just tell the person, change starts with me. Let's do that quickly. If the person sitting with you doesn't say it, double check their citizenship. Change starts with me. Let me hear you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. So I'll go to you, Zainab Zaid Idris. So sharing strategies. You're going to be giving us insight on strategies that can be used, when you're talking about digital media to organize campaign, reach audience, drive attention. Because one of the key solutions that you have preferred is the changing of orientation to reorientate our people. Like you said, our leaders don't fall from the sky. There are people who grew up with the values that we as a society have. So how then do we drive an agenda for reorientation, right? We can use campaigns. We need to get people's attention. So tell us, what are the digital strategies that can be best infused to drive and get the attention of young people, especially at the grassroots level? What can we do?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So I will answer this question by saying the key way to actually engage with youth is actually to go where they live, which is the internet. So for instance, now we have TikTok that is very active in Nigeria, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Twitter. I'll give an instance with the NSAS protest that happened. The strategy that was used to actually engage people and also keep them updated with what was happening was using hashtag. Hashtag plays a vital and a very powerful role in keeping audience engaged and also alerting them and knowing what is actually happening. And also to keep the flow of a conversation going, on Twitter especially, you can use the strategy of thread, whereby you keep updating and trying to ensure that who you're trying to target are actually getting the message you're trying to pass across. Then I will talk about the tools that are actually helping the youth to actually pass the information that they are trying to pass to the wider audience, which is, of course, TikTok. TikTok is now a very powerful tool that actually keep our youth very much engaged and very much awake in the internet space. And to actually get them, you have to use some short form of videos and also make them very engaging and also very interactive. So the whole idea is our youth don't just want to observe, but rather they want to feel so engaged into whatever is happening.
Thank you very much. So social media is one big way to get their attention. And while we're talking about social media and people at the rural space, I saw a trend on TikTok, yes. So there's this person who is on TikTok who people will post videos of themselves in the middle of nowhere and say, you can't find me. And then this guy will dig up, literally use Google now, I think, find your address. And so this stood out for me because these are videos of people in the interior. There was a lady in Ghana, somewhere out of the blue, and the person was able to fish her out. So I see that even at the grassroots level, there are a lot of young people now who are very interested in social media. And yes, access might not be 100%, but there is interest. And so you find them by some means or by any means, they find themselves in that space. So let's go to Ghana. Leila, thank you so much for joining this conversation. I know that your organization is doing a lot of introducing ICT knowledge to young girls, young women, especially in rural communities all across. Now, can you tell us what role that you think that tech skill development, what role does it play in all of this when we're talking about youth activism?
Okay, thank you so much for having me. So let me first start with what we do at Developer and then I narrow it down. So from the conversation, there's one thing that continues to linger around is that when it comes to activism, the reason why we need a lot of activists is because there are problems. And these problems can be traced to, I think, 3 things. 1, education. 2, access to information. And 3, people's mindsets. So what we do at Developer is that we try to create or build people in a holistic approach. So we give you tech skills, we give you business skills, and we give you leadership skills. How does these 3 things help in activism? You are only an activist if you find out that you are a leader. You only push for good or for change when you believe there's a problem. A lot of people are in problems, but because they are not leaders or they don't think themselves as leaders, they take it as normal. So before you become an activist and you try to push for certain change, it means that within yourself, you find yourself as a leader. So when you build yourself as a leader with Developer, you realize that you see some of these problems and then you are proactive enough to speak about it. When it comes to business training, the reason why a politician would come to a grassroots and give you something like 50 seats, I think that would be like 5,000 naira. Yes, 5,000 naira for you to follow whatever thing he's telling you to do is because you do not have money. And our education systems, especially in Africa, does not give us the opportunity to actually be very innovative, come up with our own ideas. So what we do at Developer is that we build you as a leader, teach you how to come up with ideas, teach you how to build businesses for yourself. Because at least if you're making that 50 cities a day, at the end of the day, if you know that if I go to sleep and I go out tomorrow morning, this particular business will bring me 50 cities. And within a month, if you multiply it by 30 days, you should be getting like maybe about, let's say 50,000 naira. A politician coming to give you that 5,000 cities for you to do anything you are going to do, you will not even be attracted to it. So the way we build activists is to help them become leaders of their own, give them a source of income, a business. How do they get money to be themselves? And then tech skills. you are only manipulated in this area of misinformation and disinformation because you do not know when somebody is using you in the grand scheme of plans. On social media right now, with the dawn of AI and everything, sometimes I am on Twitter and I see a video and just outright I know it's fake. A picture, Ghana is in their election season, and sometimes you see that people use some of the key political parties to share information that are totally wrong. Then after a few hours, you see some of these political players come and say fake, fake, fake. The reason why a lot of people will fall for that is because they do not really have a lot of tech skills. So if I see an AI-generated image of myself, there are some key things because I know what tech is. Sometimes the fingers are not printed out correctly. Sometimes the leg is looking a certain way. But somebody who does not have the technical eye would not know that this particular thing is fake. So building the tech skill even in the grassroots, even in some of the underserved areas in the north, is us telling them some of the basic things that are coming up in the tech space. So you see, we'll teach you something as low as digital marketing. How do you use some of these tools, some of these social media, Facebook? How do you come up with a skill to know when this news is fake? So every time I'm trying to educate our participants, like on X, I tell them that there is a way for you to actually source for community notes. So when somebody posts something on X, you can actually ask X to give you more information about it. This is some of the tech skills that we should be teaching people who are not even activists, like normal citizens. That when they are using the social media landscape and they see a particular news from this particular headquarters or something, you should go the extra step in trying to use even those particular social media applications to figure out to know if indeed these information that are being posted are real or not. So it's imperative for us to know that even though it's very difficult, especially with the resources that we have in the digital space, people in the rural areas might not have access to some of these technological tools. It does not mean that they are still not used as political, let's say political animals there. Because if I should be educated in my family and I live in an underserved area and I'm fed with the wrong information, misinformation or disinformation, and I go home and I'm educating my mother and my father who are not really educated, I will be translating the lie or the fake information to them. So even though some of these people in the urban, in the rural areas might not have the opportunity to actually get access to some of these tech skills, we are players in some of these tech space. So I always say that you have to take a step further in any technological tool that you are using to try and learn it. I'm sure if I ask you how many of you can request for community notes on X, a lot of people wouldn't know. So it's about we using the tools that we are using to make sure that the information that we are gathering in this area of activism is the right thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So please let's appreciate her for that. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and he said he had a phone, and then he's been using it for quite a while, and then he met somebody else who had the same phone, and then the person was using a function on the phone, and he was like, is it the same phone? And yeah, it's the same phone, but unfortunately he had not learned how to utilize. So sometimes you have access to things, but we do not have the patience or, I don't know, lack of will to follow through and really get all the juice out of that thing. So we're having this conversation for the purpose of change, social change, because activism starts with you, it starts with me. If we want Nigeria to move forward, Africa to be better, it starts with you and I. So it's important to take that note. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to come back to you, Anthony Sule, right? She spoke about the risk. She gave the example of AI-generated photos. So you find people would lump up an image and put it out there. Those are risks, right, that we get to face in this age. So what primary security risks do youth activists face, and how can they mitigate them? To put context to it, I also remember that during the NSAS, during the protest, I don't remember her name, but there was a lady, I think she's in the music industry, she took the forefront. On Instagram, she was really there, and it turned out she was beginning to be a target. I know she went live at some point. I was saying that if you people don't hear from me again, something has happened. Those are risks that people who want to take. When you build them up to be leaders and then they take the risk, they are using technology. So what are these risks, right? The security risks, and how can these young people mitigate them? Please help me pass the microphone to Activisim. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like that you brought the case of DJ. I forgot her name.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just switch. I think that's actually the pinnacle of it. As I said earlier, if you are coming up against the government, and I'm a Bible, so permit me a biblical anecdote here. So the Bible says that if you're going to come up against, if you're a king and you're going to go to battle against another king, you have to first do a stock assessment of what you have and what you're going up against, right? And I think this ties to what you just said, because at the pinnacle of it, in activism, when it comes to the threats that people face, and I've worked in, not too much, but I've worked in like many continents, right? I've worked extensively in the Middle East, and the kind of situations I see there is what I see play out largely in Africa as well, especially in West Africa. And NSAS is actually a testament to that. But at the pinnacle of it, just to answer the question, you find threat of life as the biggest threat that activists face, because at the pinnacle of what you do, you're pretty much telling the government or telling people, you know what, the government has been lying to us, or they're doing things in a corrupt way, and we need to change things, we need to clamor for people in government to earn less, and all of these things. You're pretty much trying to take food out of their mouths, because they're entitled to these things, they're entitled to the Commonwealth and the rest of it. So threat to life is actually at the pinnacle. And every other thing is almost like a pyramid, and every other thing just comes under it, right? You find surveillance, which fits into that, spyware attacks, and all of these things related to cybersecurity, which I can speak to, which fits into that pinnacle, which is a threat to life, threat to freedom of speech, and freedom of all of these things. But the pinnacle of it is threats to life. And what should people do? What should activists do? My solution here is actually going to be broader than I probably will have the time to speak to. But when you think about, let me give an example. Please permit me the time. There was a time I used to work for a Nigerian company, a popular one actually. So it's called Cooperation Hub, so they do a lot of work with civil society. And there was a time, I'm not going to give an exact timeline and the name of the organization, but I think around 4 or 5 years ago, there was an investigative journalist who did a very impressive work, posted this work, and instantly every platform that he used to post that work came under severe attack. And they had to reach out to us at CCO at the time. And I was leading the project, the security project at the time, and every second it was like something new was coming up. The government was, okay, let me say the government so that I don't get arrested. But it was like some people were hell-bent on making sure that that report does not get read. Right? Every platform, and I promise you, every platform. And so what happened here was, after that incident, which continued for more than 2 weeks, what happened was this organization, right, the media organization, then became a partner of ours. And what that meant was, it was now a holistic partnership where they were doing, and for like 3 or 4 months after that, every time they wanted to post an investigative report, they would tell us that, oh, we're doing this now, please ensure that everything is fine. We now became, so think about HMO, right? Think about insurance. It's one thing to get trained one time, come to a cyber, I see a lot of that in our space, right? You can get trained on cybersecurity, how to use the application, how to use the application. I promise you, it doesn't do so much. And I'll explain that. The reason I say it doesn't do so much is that you can get trained on how to use secure communication apps, how to send secure emails, and all of those things. If the government is after you, it goes beyond that. And the example you give about somebody posting a video and saying, find me anywhere, it's very simple. The government will find you. And that's why one of my first recommendations when it comes to activists and civil society is you have to think beyond just the one-off intermittent training on cybersecurity to protect yourself. There has to be a synergy, right? Where you have almost like an insurance, you have a partner that they take full coverage of everything that has to do with cybersecurity, every single thing, such that if anything goes wrong, you actually hold them responsible. And that's how I see it. If you are supposed to be an activist or a journalist doing intensive work to ensure a free and fair society, it doesn't do that. You're also taking the responsibility of learning cybersecurity. Does it make sense to us? Exactly. You just focus on the core work of doing activism, and let there be a partner that does cybersecurity for you, because there's no how you can do cybersecurity training in 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months that can actually protect yourself enough against the government. They have more apparatus at their disposal. They have more things at their disposal that they can use against you. So my recommendation in summary is that beyond just the one-off trainings are good for activists and civil society, but you need a cybersecurity partner. You need somebody who understands how the government attacks people. If I ask you here, activists, if I ask everybody here, do you think the government is after you, or are you under attack? What would your answer be? Let me just think about that. Do you think that the government is after you? Just put your hand up if you think so. No. Okay, you don't want to respond to that. Let me wrap up by saying this, that the extent of surveillance in our country, and I'm not permitted to say so much because for obvious reasons, but the extent of surveillance in our country, in the region, when you do analysis on people's phones, on people's devices, I bet you won't believe it. If you're doing real activism and the government has not come to knock on your door, you're probably not doing something right. I promise you that.
So that is to say that they know how to find you.
They can't find you. If the government is interested in you, best believe they will find you. And so the one-off trainings are not enough. You need somebody who sees security from a holistic perspective, a holistic point of view, such that every step you take, they can help you with protection along the way.
Thank you very much for that insight. So just to follow up with your thoughts, and then my next question will be to you, Mr. Henry. So I watch crime investigation a lot, and one day a friend was watching with me and she was lamenting that, oh, look at how easy it is for these guys to trace cases, even for 20 years. They will follow the case and they will get the offender. And the person said, look at what's happening in Nigeria. There's a case and then they'll tell you cold case, and that's the end. But this that you're saying tells me that if they want to do their work, I don't want to handpick the police now, but it tells me that if they actually want to do the work, it can be done. Please tell your neighbor again, change that with me. I can hear you. Thank you very much. So that brings me to you, Mr. Henry. You said something about insurance. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm just a 20-year-old who have identified that, say for instance, there's period poverty in Nigeria and there are lots of millions of parts locked away somewhere, and I want to do investigative journalism. Where do I get resources to buy insurance to insure myself to be safe? Which brings me to my question to Mr. Henry. How can CSOs now strengthen community-based digital activism as regards to its impact? So we're saying, if we say young people now want to begin to arise and they want to secure and protect themselves. I know that civil society organizations there's space for this, for all of this, but how can they strengthen community-based digital activism and its impact?
Let me start this way. There's this popular man from Kenya, Professor Patrice Lumumba, of the then Kenyan School of Law, which I think there's a statement he made. He categorized the people of every nation, and particularly Africans, into three. I stand to be corrected. I may not be able to remember the category correctly. He said there is the idiot, and there is the tribalist, and there is the citizen. And what we have in Nigeria are a bunch of, using his words, idiots and tribalists. Idiots are people who don't care. I'm just living my life, this government, nothing to me. And then the tribalist is the one that is always happy if his person is in power.
My brother.
You understand? So these are the kind of people that we have in Africa, as the case may be. So when we want to talk about, changing the narrative, just to answer your question directly, and coming back to us, yesterday somebody made mention, we as the CSOs, we are the informed people, so to say, right? And we are even supposed to be the one to also build the capacity of the policy makers, as the case may be, when it comes to the issue that we want to see social change in the society and whatever, because we will make all the grammar and noise in halls and fora like this, but it has to be translated into a legal framework before it can be enforced. So now, that takes me to the other line of thought. Now, among us as CSOs, how many of us are active citizens? That's another question. Because most of us, we feel, particularly, in this part of the country, that we have, we're facing socio-economic challenges, and you're having, your NGO work, and you have a good pay, you don't care. You at least the good money, 6 digits is entering your account every month, and then you are paying your bills, you are living your life, you don't want problem, you don't want wahala. Now I give you an example. I used to make a post on Facebook, and sometimes I will make like 3, 4, 5 posts. If they are politically inclined, I will have less comments. Facebook, that everybody is on Facebook. Now, there was a day, somehow, I just decided to post my picture and a lady. And I made a comment that has to look like as if I'm getting married or something, whatever. For the first time in my life, I got comments that I've never gotten before. And likes. Do you get the point? But many people viewed those political, or rather engaging posts that I made about what is happening in the country, and they passed it. One is because I don't want to get into trouble. You can see, even from the way my brother is making his submissions, he said for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. That's the average. I'm not picking, I'm just saying it's everybody. I am also inclusive. Do you get the point? So when we want to bring about this change, it's about how because being a civil society worker does not mean you shouldn't be an active citizen.
Let's do quickly. Please hold that chain of thought. How many of us here consider ourselves active citizens, please? Okay. Yes. There we go.
That's the problem. You get the point now. So because the challenge is, if we that are informed are not engaging. Yesterday, I think Prof here was talking about engagement. You can't change what you're not engaging. So until we engage it, we cannot change it. So as civil society organizations, we must first shine the light. Now, by actively participating in political issues, I'm not saying we should be partisan. It is another thing to be partisan and be actively, engaged in social political issues in your country. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do it, it will also affect your work as a CSO. I give you an example. During the last elections in my state, Adamawa State, where I'm coming from, the governor banned all activities of civil societies and non-governmental organizations. What was the point? The point is that because he is contesting against a woman, and the narrative is that the woman, the governorship candidate who is a woman, is receiving donations from foreign organizations or donors that are helping her to push the narrative of, all this issue of gender equality and what have you, so that she can become the first female governor of Nigeria. So they banned sales work. We were stranded for more than 3 months. We couldn't work. Why? Because we have decided to be, working, in solos and in silos. Do you get the point? So for me, I think we that are informed should show the light. When you go to your rural communities, everybody is coming from a village, no matter how. So you should go and inform the people. There are people that you are serving as a model to them in your community or in your neighborhood where you're coming from. So they take you to what you do. So when they see the way you're doing or you're behaving when it comes to the issue of social political issues in the society, they will actually cue in. At the end of the day,
thank you very much. A round of applause for Mr. Henry Ibrahim. And thank you so much for that, Jennifer. So we'll take questions now quickly. Let's have our questions come in. Questions, please. Okay, so we have one at the back there. Questions, please. Thank you. We'll be wrapping up shortly because we are lagging behind time. So we'll take just very few questions anyway so that we're able to finish up in time.
I don't know who said it again, but you were talking, I think you are talking about teaching the CSOs how to be tech savvy. Now, for CSOs, a lot of us do not have the wherewithal, what I mean, to actually delve into becoming internet savvy. Is there a kind of arrangement where we can collaborate to get the training? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take the next one.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm currently working on a program for some universities and institutions in the Southeast, especially in the State, where we are trying to build the capacity of young women we know they are not very much interested in activism, and we're trying to build their capacity to empower them to voices to be magnified in high institutions. And currently we find out that a lot is happening when it comes to civic space, especially in SUG, as we know in some universities. Some persons, some young female students were denied the opportunity to contest in departmental elections, in SUG elections, by their HODs. And sometimes, when we engage some of them, we find out that there's a policy in their department that restricts female students from contesting. And then we started talking about this through the dean of that particular institution, and even for the rector of that particular institution. And they wrote a memo that this should not happen. They should allow that young girl to contest, just like every other person. And this was able to happen because we had that session, and that particular girl had to speak out. Now, my question is, how can we involve tech, as a way of helping young women, especially, coming out to confidently report issues of shrinking civic space among universities and high institutions?
Thank you very much. And I'll let you address, and then would you want to say something? But let's start with.
Okay, thank you very much. For the first question, it's very important to know that when it comes to tech, you can't do everything, just like Mr. Sule said. So if you are a CSO, I'm not in Nigeria, so it'll be very difficult for me to really give you a lot of manpower. But if you are a CSO in Ghana, in Nigeria, what you have to do is always get the opportunity to partner with organizations. Just like this particular event it partners with so many organizations that come on with different skill. So if you are in Ghana, I would say it's easy for us to partner with you, train you, build your capacity on how to build tech and how to learn tech within your organization. But since you find yourself in Nigeria, I think it will be prudent for us to ask which of the CSOs here, I think Rise Network mentioned something like that yesterday. So you could reach out to them and then collaborate with them for them to come and teach you for free. And nowadays it's so easy to learn tech skills if you have the tools. Getting someone to teach you is very easy. And then the other question on how to support the girl child, and that's why it's actually important with what we are doing in developer. And another good thing for us in Ghana is that Parliament just approved a bill for women to take about 30% of leadership positions. So I think it's a call for Nigeria to also push such bills so that it trickles down to the schools and everything. Another thing is that as activists, we need to actually create organizations that actually do these things. Go to the schools. In Ghana, we are getting so many first SRC presidents. What is it, SRC? I don't know if it's the same here in Nigeria. Student Representative Council presidents. Yes, so SUG. Okay, yeah, so in Ghana it's SRC. We are getting so many first female SRC presidents. I think this year and last year we had about 4 or 5. And that's because we have women who are empowered, pushing and teaching leadership like we are doing in developer. So in Nigeria, who are the female leaders that you have, the governors that you have? Send proposals to them, send letters to them for them to come for speaking engagements like this. Let them tell you how they started their political journey. Some of them actually started from school. Personally, I started from school. I was the SRC treasurer in school. When I went to do my master's, I still became GRASAD. When I'm currently doing my LLB, which is law at GIMPA, and I stood for a position. I was the Speaker of Parliament at GIMPA Law. So at every particular point in time, I am intentional about being a leader. And so I always go for leadership positions, and I'm not going to stop now. And whilst I do that, I still use developer to train leaders. So if you are here and you're a woman and you are a leader, it means that you also become the mentor that the next generation needs. So you go back and you teach them on how to be leaders. And let's bombard our leaders, especially the women, the governors. Let's just letters, proposals, invite them. If you go 10 times, I'm sure she'll get tired it's for us as women to not say no when we are rejected the first time. We keep on pushing. So we have a lot of representation, a lot of women in leadership positions. And let's call out some of these organizations. I mean, in Ghana, if there's a school that actually has that, you would see me writing on social media and tagging them that it just goes it's against the constitution in Ghana. Everybody has the opportunity and the freedom to stand for a position. You cannot add such a clause in your constitution of a school when you are building the future leaders of countries. It's not acceptable. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Just to respond to your question now, I want to refer to the same thing that I said about my governor during the last election. And I think when he actually won the election, what he did was is what we usually call the reverse psychology. Now, because of that perception that people have, now his deputy governor is a woman, and he has decided that during the local government elections in my state, every chairman that is actually contesting, or every candidate that is contesting for the seat of the chairman of his local government from his own party must make his deputy chairman to be a woman. And that is what we have in Adamawa State now. All the 21 local government areas in Adamawa State, the vice chairpersons are all women. And the deputy governor is also a woman. And we have the majority leader of the House of Assembly in my state is also a woman. So that is another angle that he has approached it. But for me, as an organization, what we do, during the last election in Edo State, we have deployed one of the innovations we've actually created. It's called Smart RR. It's a mobile application that you can use to report any sexual and gender-based violence that has been perpetrated against you. So we deployed that in Edo, and we have successfully done that during the elections, and there are over 500 cases that were reported on the platform of gender-based violence that were meted out against women, particularly during the electioneering season. And currently, we are trying to do that the same thing in Ondo State. We have trained service providers. We are trying to onboard them on the platform so that once there is any case of discrimination or any violence that is meted out on somebody by virtue of his or her gender, the person can actually report, and he will be linked with the necessary service providers that he or she would want to actually attend to his case. In case there is no network or rather internet connection in that community, we also have a short code for USD code. It's *347 *3090#, so that the person can dial this code and then follow the prompt, and you will be linked or connected to the service provider of your choice, as the case may be. So these are some of the measures we are taking to make sure that women are not intimidated. During the last election, 2023, we saw a picture of a woman that trended during the poll. She went to cast her vote and she was injured because she's a woman and because she belongs to a particular political party and stuff like that. And why not, most of the, victims of electoral violence are usually women. I don't know. Maybe because of our masculine nature in African countries and what have you. So if civil societies can begin to take these kind of actions and steps towards making elections to be free, fair, and safe for the feminine gender, it will make them to come out the more to vote and to be voted for.
Thank you very much. Our time is up, so we'll stand up for a group photograph. Thank you very much. We have 5 more minutes. Awesome, thank you, because I really want to engage with you. So my question to you, Zainab, now is, what advice will you give an activist with limited resources? Because I know there was issue about you can insure yourself, but what if you don't have?
Okay, thank you very much. So my advice is start small and start with what you have. I will give a good instance with myself. I make videos in Hausa explaining tech technologies because I understood the gap that we have when it comes to tech technologies and tech-related issues. So I started making videos over a year ago where I explain things and simplify things in Hausa language, that those things that are related to tech. So it has really helped in building awareness and also reaching a global audience that actually understand the language. And also regarding fact-checking, which is something that a lot of activists tend to shy away from, or should I say we are so much in a hurry to get the likes and the comments, we tend to just drop the news as it comes without checking. So I would really advise and urge the activists and the youth in general to always fact-check before you share information out there. Collaborate with the SCOs and always ensure that you do a lot of partnership before you share things out. So basically, that's all I have. Thank you.
Just to say that I've been working in this space for quite a long time, and I think I absolutely understand some of the challenges. I'm a cybersecurity professional, so I can speak to cybersecurity challenges that organizations and activists face. And I just want to say that, my company, Resilience Technologies, we have one free service, which I think is very crucial to activists or civil society organizations. Yeah, it's called, we do something called Resilience Consulting. And so what this means is, the earlier example I gave, so if somebody was targeting you, for instance, what are the things they would look at? What are the ways they would try to attack you or target you? We have a resilience consulting service that's absolutely free for activists and civil society organizations. Every other service is paid, but this is very crucial because it means you will see a very comprehensive analysis of the gaps in your security, of the gaps in your technology usage and all of that. And that will also help you. We then provide recommendations which you can then implement for free. We can support you to do that as well. But my message, in summary, my message is cybersecurity is crucial to activism. And if you're an activist, you sincerely cannot do cybersecurity by yourself. And so I really urge you to get a partner. And I'm not just trying to market my company, but I really urge you to get a partner, somebody who looks at your work comprehensively and can advise you and can also be a partner along your journey such that you don't get attacked before you then come for a solution. Let me end with this, sorry. So there's this, I grew up in the military barracks, and you will always hear that if you hear the sound of a gun and you're able to make the sound of a gun, that this is the sound of a gun, then the bullet was never for you. If you hear the sound of the bullet, it was never for you. Because most times what we do in terms of cybersecurity in this space is, it's only when an attack has happened that we then start looking for a cybersecurity partner who will come do this for us. But by that time, whatever it is that you're protecting, whether it's sensitive information and all of that, they've gone away with it. So you need to be proactive about it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so my last comment would be that tech, we've been speaking about tech, we've seen how important tech is. Another thing is collaboration and partnership, like he said. If you are here, please collaborate with someone to be able to push all the change we are talking about, because we can't do it alone, we can't do it holistically. You need cybersecurity. Even though I'm in tech, I will still need to get an expert in cybersecurity to help me with cybersecurity. If I'm in tech, I still need someone in digital marketing to help me push the brand. So as much as possible, wherever we find ourselves as an SEO, you need to partner and collaborate with someone so that you can at least build the change that we want within our countries and in Africa. Yeah. And please, women leadership is very important. Let's support a woman.
Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for this. Yeah, that'll be all from us. We'll just take our group photo and go away. And lastly, my name is Moreni Keji Olonilua. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for them. A very vibrant one there. From the name Youth Hub, you can see that they are young people, and it was a very, very interesting one. Please, a round of applause for them. Can we celebrate them? Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, they are still setting up lunch. I know that we're getting hungry, but very soon we'll move over there. Please permit us to take the other session.